what that means to you is that this is a tool that's used by firemen and mechanics. Like, this is the real deal. Like, this isn't a phone app. So you should be able to see me in there, right? Red, orange, and yellow guy.
Yep.
So that means I'm the warmest thing inside the picture because it's white, hot, black, cold is the way this is set up. So obviously we're looking for blue and black spots to move on their own. We're looking for cold spots. So those blue and black spots, if they start moving on their own or taking shape into something, is really what we're interested in here. Is this something that captures something every single night? It is not. I get about 4 to 5 pieces of evidence per year on the amount of tours that I do. So if I'm not recording, we're not going to be able to capture it. So the cool thing is that you're going to get the full video back. As great as the hardware is, the software is horrible. So as you're using this, Frank, I'm going to have you stop it a few times, just so I'm going to splice all the video together. When you guys are watching this video, you're going to notice a blue dot bouncing around the screen. That's giving you the coldest part in the frame at that particular moment. It's helping us to find where those cold spots are. However, when I'm spot checking the video, I'm not just looking at the blue dot, I'm looking at the dark areas as well. So that way I can kind of see like what's taking shape and what's not. Even if we don't capture something, this is still some great technology to be able to watch and learn about because it is thermodynamics. So for those of you that are super nerdy like me, I had to learn about thermodynamics so that way I can learn how to watch the video. So you're going to keep this guy, you're going to watch it all night long, but the camera's going to be on your left. That's the wire side. So even when I tell you to stop the video and restart it, you're going to make sure you start in this position. When I splice it together, I send it to YouTube. YouTube doesn't know the flippies. Then I got to give out Frank's phone number, and nobody's happy because they got an upside down video because they had it on the wrong side. So this guy's going to go to you. He's fine. He's got it. He'll figure it out.
Take it slow. Don't.
Okay.
Let's get the next camera. Alright, so this guy, obviously you can probably guess that it's an altered GoPro. So let me show you how this guy's going to work for us. So you should not be able to see me in the screen, right? It should be pretty dark. I know it's small, but it should be pretty black. Let's turn on some lights. These are lights you cannot see with your own eyes. So the hope here is that we're going to be able to see something that we normally would not be able to see with our own eyes. So we're also, once the other party of 3 gets here, we're also going to be using lasers with this. So again, the lasers really flare up on this guy to help us detect motion. So it's kind of like an accompanying device. So again, this is a super cool device. It's not recording yet, but I do like to at least get it set up so it kind of gets used to the ambient temperature. This one likes to lock up and freeze on me. So we'll kind of see how it works. So Dad, this one's going to go to you. Okay. I'll show you more about that at our first location. So just to make sure I have the lasers in the right space, let's get those going. Just so I can kind of demonstrate with those. So first off, I like to call this the neuralizer for Men in Black. You know, the one that erases your memory. So that way none of you are going to remember anything by the time we're done.
Oh, see, you wished for that.
I know, right? So, lasers. So the cool thing about lasers is obviously you can probably see them really well through your camera, Ben, but the whole point of this is we can't see the lasers until something passes through it. So we're going to hope to capture on film something passing through it quickly, and I'll be able to get that still for you and show you exactly what we caught. We're going to use 2 different styles. We're going to use red squares as well. The reason why we're going to use this one is I'm going to take the still of whatever we catch from the video and put it in 3D software and give you guys full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements. So again, I've had this for almost a year now, and I haven't caught anything that the software will take. It's usually a little too blurry for it to be able to say, okay, I'm not sure what that is, but I'm always going to continue to try. Even if not, I'll still have the photograph to be able to, you know, from the camera of what we actually caught. So, Mom, these are going to go to you. So lasers always stay on the ground. This one has a button right here. You have to hold that one to keep it on, and you never want to go more than 3 to 4 feet in front of you. This one has a toggle switch, so once you flick it on, it stays on. So you have to be careful. Lasers get Nick in a lot of trouble, so no pressure.
Oh boy.
If you flash them off the street, cops are going to be called. I can almost guarantee it. So we want to definitely keep them on the ground.
Okay.
So
we do that.
those both go to you. I normally give the lasers to adults only, just so you know. Spirit boxes. Let's get into that.
Those better not be mine.
Why not?
I don't like spirits, first of all.
You're going to be just fine, buddy, I promise. So, spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. So we're going to be using 4 different styles tonight. Well, 3 different styles, 4 different ones. So this one is going to sweep through the FM radio stations at a very quick rate. Let me see if she texted me.
I saw this on YouTube.
Yep. Nope, she's still just like. So, this might get on there. We're looking for 3 ladies. Nope, they're looking for a bar. Okay. Sweeping through FM radio stations. This is kind of like the white noise you guys see on TV, and then the host will tell you what he thinks he heard in the middle of it, right? So we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. Mine are slowed down on purpose. First off, if you listen to white noise for 2 hours straight, plus all the history I'm going to give you, you're going to fall asleep. Like, that's just, it's almost a guarantee. So with these being slowed down, you're going to be listening for basically radio chatter. So the DJs that are coming through, the song lyrics, the commercials, if you hear that, I want to know what they say. So it's usually a 50-50 shot that I can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history we're talking about, or even something going on with one of us. This one's going to record. So Lauren, we're going to be relying on you. I'm still going to be writing down whatever you hear in real time because I may miss it in my spot check. So that way we have kind of a double whammy. But anything you hear out of this, I want to know what's going on with it. And the cool thing is it's going to record the entire session. Even if she plays with the volume, it's perfectly fine because it's going to record at 1 volume only. So when you guys get your recording back tomorrow, it's all nice and even no matter how much you turned it up and down. It's also not going to record any outside noise, so it's just going to be the radio sweep. When I go through this tomorrow through my spot check, I'm going to give you about 15 to 20 markers, whether they're relevant or not. It's going to help teach you how to listen to this type of recording. So that way when you go through it on yourself, you can kind of pick up on like what I'm looking for. So you're also going to have an earbud. So you're going to be the only one that can hear this in real time.
Okay.
So it's going to help you only because we're going to be using several spirit boxes tonight and everybody gets a different earbud.
Okay.
So let me show you where the volume button is.
Words, noises, sound.
Mainly
Anything?
words.
Words, okay.
Mainly words. So just going to have to undo the twisty tie, but your volume button is right here. It's a wheel. It's not the button, it's the wheel.
And I'll tell what's up and down.
Yep, you'll figure it out. It's already all the way down for you right now. All right, so. I moved something because it was charging.
Excited.
All right, Olivia. You are one of my important people of the night. So, your spirit box is going to work a lot differently. So yours is going to give us words in the center of the screen from time to time. So I'm going to come to you when I want to see what the words are because it's going to save them all to a list. So last night's tour had 76 different terms that came up. I'm going to clear out their history and start us off fresh. So I will come to you when I want to see a word. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. And I'll show you, like that way you can actually have something that pops up too. You are going to help me prove that certain things are either ghosts or not ghosts. So you're going to help me debunk things, Mr. Jackson. So what this guy does is it measures electromagnetic fields. You guys have probably seen these on TV. Mm-hmm. So cell phones and wiring and that kind of thing is going to make it go off too. So you and I are going to figure out if it's coming from a ghost or if it's coming from something man-made. So that group is really late. So where they're at. But we're going to be moving on here in just a moment. So again, this guy doesn't do anything besides light up, and I already have like the measurements. I'll just look at the colors and know how many milligauss it is, and I won't get into the sciencey stuff with it. But if you see something that I don't, just let me know what color you saw. You don't have to do anything besides watch it. Fair enough?
Can you handle that, bud? Yeah. Okay.
There's already words popping up.
I know there are, because that thing is crazy. I love that thing. So the reason why I love using that, and I know it's a phone app, but folks, here's what I'm going to tell you mainly about the device that Olivia is using. 80% of it doesn't mean anything. It's meant to be a game and a hoax. It's a phone app. So again, it'll be the 5 to 20% where I tell you why it's relevant. Again, person, place, location kind of thing. And then I'll give you the backlink to verify it. So again, if she sees a name and it's definitely relevant to our location, obviously I'm going to give you a link to tell you more about that person. So, there's 4 of them as well. Oh, looks like these young ladies might miss out.
Yeah, I think they're the same.
Yeah, it's 3 ladies for sure.
There's a lot of stuff on here.
Yeah, and that is as slow as it goes.
Wow.
So Usually when I do my own investigations, I have one running at warp speed, so it's nothing but white noise, and then I have one running like that. So that way I have both methods that I can play with. So anyway, let's talk about why we started here, now that everybody's all geared up. You guys will also see me taking notes throughout the night too, so just based on some of your devices that don't always record things, I have to take notes for your analysis. Big John's. Of course, I told you this place is haunted. This place used to be called Big John's. This is a new Big John's. It was actually, it says established 1955. That was the original one. It was owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. So he played for the 1947 New York Giants. This was his place, and he used to sit in the back of the bar and would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel if they were old enough to drink or not. And one night, 2 guys came in. They weren't old enough to drink. So he has the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty angry, and they come back the next night. They try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, gets pretty angry, gets up from the bar, and beats him up, beats the heck out of him. A couple of gunshots go off, and John gets hit in the neck, but the bullet lands in the wall. John gets up after being shot, and he goes back to the bar, and he tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 people on the floor an ambulance. So, moral of the story is don't mess with Big John. He'll beat you. But really, nobody died in that story. So what's haunting the place is the bullet hole. Even if they filled it in, John's blood is still here in the building. People that sit in the front tend to get a little headache, nauseousness, dizziness, that kind of thing. I bring this up on purpose because I don't know how paranormal activity is going to affect any of you. If you guys feel any of those symptoms, I need to know immediately. It is a very, very big deal. So, not to scare anybody because we got little ones on the tour.
Just so you know.
You're going to be fine. I just have to put that out there.
I didn't even know this word.
See how I gave him something to stare at?
Yeah.
I'm on it.
If that happens, how come it's so significant? How come it's...
It depends on the location. I won't say that I haven't had to call paramedics on my tours because of too high of an EMF, something that Jackson is measuring. So if his goes straight to red, I'm going to pull out another one that goes beyond his red markings to see how high it actually is. So that way I can kind of get a gauge on it. So, but again, it could be based on the location. Too much paranormal activity can affect muggles, so to speak. So again, it just depends. And the last story that I tell you the story of somebody that did pass out because it's relevant to the story. So again, it's not to scare anybody. It's a relevant paranormal action that I witnessed. It was on the tour. It was crazy. And you'll see why once we get there. So let's not talk about our own health, right? Because that's getting everybody a little worried, especially Jackson. Because I think his heart's on the floor. But Big John's, we also had a big earthquake here in 1886. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but this is the East Coast. Every tour guide you're going to meet in Charleston is going to talk about this earthquake because, again, it's the East Coast. We're not supposed to have them. So this is apparently where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front of the building. So a piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, and it killed them. However, they say you can see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street, but I don't have any proof of that. It's just a great segue story, so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour. So, are you guys ready to go ghost hunting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think I waited, 19 minutes I think is well long enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do this. We're going to go this way. Okay, so this is kind of a practice area. So this is where everybody gets to use their devices and I get to show you more tactics with them. The history here is really simple, and I kept it simple on purpose. You guys are going to make me talk because you're very attentive. So also imagine that I get all kinds of people from 6 to 106. Some of them are rowdy, some of them are very attentive like you, I have like a mixed bag. You guys all seem like you're so laser focused, no pun intended with the lasers. You guys are all, even the kids, they're not focused on me, they're focused on what's in their hand, which is cool, I did the right thing. So, this is where we keep, I call it the big red barns, where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. So they are inside the barn, so a couple rules here. Absolutely no lasers on the barn. and you'll spook them. They will kick the wall. Some of us will jump. Jackson's heart will fall out of his chest. So, because it is very loud against the metal wall. So, just kind of keep that in mind. It's also why we use earbuds with the spirit boxes now, just because they don't like the white noise either. I learned that really fast. Oh, by the way, and I don't want the earbuds back because earwax is gross.
Right.
No offense, but you keep it.
Okay.
I buy them in bulk. It's fine. So the history here is that this is the same red barn where we held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. So 1860s to 1920s, roughly. So let's talk about spirit boxes because we have 2 of them in play tonight. Spirit boxes, this is not like TV. This is not like YouTube either. It's not, is somebody here? Like everybody wants to ask. Because if somebody says no, Olivia, that means somebody's here, right? She just gave me the worst look ever. But we're gonna stay away from yes and no questions all night long between the 2 of you. And normally, I have 4 different types of spirit boxes, so we're only using 2 tonight. The 2 that are gonna record data. You're gonna ask questions here like what you already know the answers for. What color is the big red barn if somebody's here? Obviously, we're looking and listening for the color red. That would be a great signifier, right? However, the word red might not be readily available from a DJ or song lyric. So, fire truck, blood, heart. Those 3 things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer. Color's the big red barn, blood. Good with that. Most of the night I'm going to say we need 2 pieces of clues to verify what's actually happening. Otherwise, it could be just a coincidence. For example, if Olivia has the word art on her spirit box word list, and you hear the number 40, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Those are 2 clues that kind of verify that Art Faircloth might be. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
How I have to look for clues all the time? Yeah. So a lot of these stories tonight are going to have, I'm talking 17 and 1800s. There's a lot of Georges and Charleses and Elizas and that kind of thing. So we need to know who the heck we're talking to. So we're not going to spend a lot of time in this slot because I'm going to basically go through the cameras next to kind of show them a few extra tactics. And because there's cars in here and people are probably going to be leaving work and they don't like to be filmed, by the way. So let's talk about cameras. When we're in spaces like this, people do not like to be filmed. There might be times where I say, be casual, be casual. And it's only because I want you to act like you're holding a cell phone and for you to point your camera at the ground. Okay. So people don't like to be filmed and they don't like their cars to be filmed. So first off, if I was a car thief, that would be my first tool because I know exactly how long these cars have been here based on their heat signature. So, but with these particular cameras, I'm looking, again, you want to try to keep somebody in view. That's going to help give me an array of color to look at, so when a cold spot does appear, it's a lot easier to spot. So somebody in view because we're going to be the warmest thing out here. They have to kind of keep that mentality in. You're also going to try to keep the sky out of view. The reason why is there's no surface on the sky. The blue dot is going to automatically default to the sky if it's in view. Some of these spaces, it's going to be impossible to keep the sky out of view. Do your best. But yeah, nice slow movements make it for a nice, easier video to watch. Nobody likes a shaky cameraman. As far as your camera, if you look through your viewfinder now, you can kind of see me in a purple pinkish circle, right?
Yep.
I'm looking for things outside that circle. I obviously reflect light because I'm living. So we are looking for things in the spectrum where it shouldn't be able to reflect light. We also capture a lot of orbs with that camera. We just never know what's actually going to happen in specific spaces. Now, we're not going to have as long of a video from your camera as we are with the thermal, just because things have been a little bit faulty. So we're going to probably capture about 20 to 30 minutes of video out of your camera total out of our 2-hour tour.
Okay.
So we're not recording now, just so you know. But I do want to point out that you have 2 lights working for you. So if we're too close, do you see how my hand kind of bleached out a little bit?
Yep.
This is your short range light. You can turn it off, and the long range is still working for you.
Okay.
So everything should still be in kind of a purple, pinkish hue.
Yep.
But again, your discretion. Turn it on and off. If this battery dies because it is getting weak, just let me know. I have another one in my bag. I always keep full batteries for everything. So,
okay.
And I do carry 5 batteries for the camera itself. So you're going to die at least once on the camera, somewhere midway. Just when it does, I'll pop in a new battery and we'll be good to go.
Okay.
If it freezes, let me know, and we'll get you reset up again. I have to pop the battery out and push it back in again.
Okay.
Just to get you reset up. What words do you have going on in your word list? Let me take a look real quick. Okay, so suicide is definitely not anything that I'm going to talk about here.
My
No.
name.
Your name is there. That is true.
That's creepy.
Who'd you bring with you?
What I bring with me?
Yeah. That's usually what happens. So let me kind of give you an example. When you start to see clues that are relative to you only, it usually means a loved one that you brought with you knows that you came to do this to communicate with the dead, and they want to speak with you. So if I have vets on the tour, forget it. It doesn't matter what story I tell. Everything's relatable to them overseas losing somebody. It's almost a guarantee.
Now it says demon.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about demons.
I don't know. I'm in the military, but I don't know anyone who's passed from that. So
Okay, we'll see what else pops up.
yeah,
I mean, it could be a family member. It could be a long ago family member, grandmother, great
I
grandmother.
would love that. Wow.
So, and it's happened. Again, these are personal experiences, and if you don't want to talk about them, you're still going to get the full list. So you're still going to have the proof for yourself. So just kind of keep that in mind. So if you don't want to tell me what's going on, like if you see something else or hear something else that's going on, it's relative to you only. Like your grandmother's cat was named Radar, and you heard Radar, and she has the word cat. You don't want to tell us what's going on. You're still going to have all that evidence for
I'll
yourself.
tell you guys.
So,
Don't.
again, it's personal. We don't want to get dive in deep, but if something is popping up, like, oh my God, I mean, your name is obviously there. However, I do usually see that name when we're getting closer to the Pinckney Mansion site, which is where we're headed next, because there was a great nephew from the person we're going to talk to that actually had a Charleston newspaper, and he's been popping up more and more. His name is Henry Lawrence Pinckney, so it's spelled the exact same way, only with an S. So again, I'm waiting to see it. Like when I saw that, I was like, we'll see if something else pops up. I don't usually talk about it unless something else comes up, like newspaper, something along those lines. But we'll kind of see what's going on. And you've had no readings? No, that thing hasn't gone off the green yet?
No.
Okay.
It went off before.
Okay. So orange. So we got about 15 minutes. Okay, so we got a little bit of a spike there. So this thing will normally wait. It either starts right away when we get here and it's going crazy, like closer to the red, or it waits till we leave. I never know if we're going to get in here. As far as the lasers go, so why don't you step over here for just a second? Point your lasers on the ground. All right, so you, Ben, when you guys are filming, you're not going to be looking down at you're going to be looking through it. So you want to be like super casual, comfortable, just make sure they're like right in front of you. You got it. So basically he's looking within the pyramid of right here of what's going to possibly be moving. And again, you don't want to look down at it. You want to be like 2 to 5 feet away, so that way we can actually see it.
Okay.
And try to put the grid in the frame at the same time if you can.
So that like the base?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that way I can, when I'm kind of spot checking it, we all know like where the base of it is.
Okay.
But sometimes, the gravel's going to reflect back, and I like to be able to bunk that stuff pretty quickly. All right, I say we go learn some much deeper history, now that everybody has a better gist of their devices. You guys ready for this?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go back to colonial times. Let's do this.
Decapitated?
I thought it was
A lot of my
Oh,
older
it's a
drums,
dinging.
so we'll just say like 60 plus.
What is it?
Like, they don't want to
Right dinging.
have everybody hear what they're asking. So they may be asking something different than what I'm suggesting. So they'll just look like this. Then they'll say, I was asking about this, but I never heard this before. So comfortability. But you're recording it, so it doesn't matter. Alright, everybody. We're going crazy. I didn't mark down the recordings we had from last time, so hold on 1 second. So this space, obviously another beautiful site of Charleston, right?
Yeah.
Another parking lot. But this place used to be a pretty big something. So, $15 house. Of course, we're looking for things around the world. But this used to be home to Charles and Eliza Pinckney. So this is one of those historical pieces where I might speed it along just so we can, keep it going and keep the kids entertained. Their mansion sat in the front of this lot facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was right behind me, started right here and went all the way across the lot. And then the back of the lot, even over the median, was where the servant and slave quarters were for the home. So who the heck were these people? By the way, I'm not going to be giving you questions over here like what color is George Washington's white horse, right? Like what we did with the Red Barn. You're not going to have the answers. You're going to have to get a phone. It's the same thing with Olivia's. So Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. You guys see why I always go after secondary clues. The son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for us in South Carolina. Pretty big deal for us, but we're on vacation, right? Nobody wants to talk about politics, including me. Let's talk about Eliza, which is way cooler anyway. Eliza married Charles at a young age. So I'm not going to tell you how old she was. I will tell you she was young according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So I bring this up because Charles was over double her age when they got married. So it's a pretty big age gap between the two of them. Yes, it was a true love story because even after his death, remember, he's the over double her age. She did remain a widow for a very long time until her own death. So, yeah. Numbers are good though that you're hearing. But anyway, she married Charles because her father, who lived in England, thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his kids one last time. She didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put. This is 1744. There's no such thing as marrying for a green card or citizenship. Like this was, she married him out of love, right? So she was right. Dad didn't die right away. He starts sending her gifts from England to where we're standing now. One of those gifts happened to be the seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least a few hours that I know of. You've seen the word indigo a few times. Now you know why. You can be a little bit more casual with this guy over here, just so you guys know. But indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Some of you are wearing it tonight because that's how we use it today. She didn't know how to keep it going in our weird temperatures. It's obviously not warm here all the time. So she learned from her slaves how to keep it going. Our slaves that were here originally were from the Gullah culture, straight from Africa. They're from their agriculturists, basically. So once she figured it out, she moved her indigo plant to a plantation just north of here and calls her dad to get some international contacts to start selling. Now we have an international businesswoman in colonial times. Pretty big deal. Let's get into the weird stuff, right? Because that's why you guys are all here. Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. So it's really smart or really stupid, depending on how you look at it. So, ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. So when you're asking which Eliza we're dealing with, ask her what her maiden name is. Listening for an L name. Again, I'm going to give you a clue. You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's obviously not here anymore. Then you can ask what year that happened. Notice none of these questions are yes or no questions, and they're very specific. Let's see. The kids. There's at least one that I told you of. Yeah, it's not that. You can ask how many children she had and what their names were, but that's it. The reason why is because there's a tragedy among those kids, and if we poke the bear too much, then all activity stops, including Jackson's EMF. Like he's getting up to 20 milliamps already, which is pretty strong stuff. So, Eliza's death. You can ask anything you want to. How did you die? What did you die from? Where are you buried? How old were you when you died? And what president was a pallbearer at your funeral? Like, that's a big one. A president, at his own request, acted as a pallbearer at her funeral to show her respect. That's a pretty big deal. So, I think I've given you guys enough to get started with. Obviously, you guys are going to be helping Olivia out with some of those questions, so that way she knows what to ask. I think you've got a great gist on what you're listening for. You're already starting to get the hang of it, which is good. We are going to spread out in here. We do not go near vehicles. Lasers can also set off car alarms. No pressure at all. So we got to make sure that those lasers are like in control at all times. And there's not many spaces where the lasers are going to be used, just so you know. I did that on purpose so that way you can help the kiddos with their devices. So I do have to record the fact that Jackson's already gone up to 20 milligauss, which is pretty high. His device only goes to 25 milligauss. And basically what that means is that like your TV, behind your TV set is usually in a 45 milligauss range with all of your electronics and television and wires back there. I have a device that'll go all the way up to 200, which is dangerous levels. So it'll measure that if things like that occur. So I'll probably pull it out so that way we can keep track of it if he starts getting some really high spikes from the get-go. How's everybody feeling so far? Is everybody good? Okay, just want to make sure. You'll be okay. You're going to be just fine. This is how we're going to do this all night long, buddy. Like, we're just going to ask questions and see what happens.
I feel like out of body right now. Okay. How do I describe that? Like,
so, listening to what you're listening to can be that way. It's a little dizzying because it's not a normal thing you would be listening for. Also, remember, I'm asking you to use your senses of hearing in a different way. Okay. So, I mean, you're focused right now because
Yeah.
you're listening to all of that. Like if you guys could hear what she's listening at right now, like it's literally like a radio station just sweeping to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and just waiting for those little tiny words or phrases to start coming out. So again, we'll see what she comes up with and how it's going to go. I don't know if 36 usually an age because obviously it's not going to be a date because there's only 31 days in a maximum month.
It's just very clear. That's why.
Yep, and that's what we're looking for. Those very clear things. Let me see your word list one more time. Ray. No.
Wow, there's like a lot of stuff.
Yep, sure is. You have to remember, this is meant to be a game. Most people think of paranormal as being something scary and gory and horrifying.
Right.
This thing is meant to try to scare people.
Right.
That's why I say 80% of it, you can probably throw it away. So, we're going to circle back and let you keep watching. So, ask some questions. You should probably ask about the mansion and what happened to it. That's an easy one. So, we'll see if Eliza wants to tell us what happened to the mansion. Is that fair? Okay, so let's go see if you guys can find out what happened to the mansion. Alright, guys, let's spread out. Oh, to get you recording, hit the light button right here. Okay. And it'll start flashing. I am going to ask that you try to stop the video after like 3 minutes, so that way I can continue getting little tiny tidbits and then just restart it back. Yeah, so that way it doesn't freeze up on us.
Okay.
And then we lose like 8 minutes worth of footage.
Okay.
We're going to stay within this line. So, wherever Mom wants to go with this.
And you want me to keep this?
Nice and slow. So just kind of,
Oh,
I mean, obviously
videotaping
hang
you
out.
guys? Okay.
Yeah, so just try to keep a person in view. You know, it's the easiest way.
It's crazy.
And again, this isn't a device where I capture a crap ton of evidence, but it is so fun to
for
study.
a second, so I apologize.
It's your video, man.
God,
I mean, I'm only.
everything is gonna be okay. That is
Oh,
so
that's
crazy.
awesome.
And I record all of that stuff, so that way
What happened to the
So can I ask
you can
right now what happened to the mansion?
go for it. I mean, she's already listening to us. You have to remember,
Yeah.
I'm here 6 to 7 nights a week. She already
Yeah.
knows what questions we're gonna ask.
Yeah.
So a
for
lot of
sure.
times, like all of this stuff will start to come up early, like over at the Big Red Barn.
with
so-
her husband. What was her husband's name?
Charles.
Charles.
My thing went totally red over
Walk
there.
it out. Is there protests?
I don't know.
There were many protests back in that time, but to find out, I need a date. Like, I need something of what it was about.
Where did the protest?
I'm froze. Okay. See, we only lost 26 seconds. Not too bad. This thing was actually worked out great last night, but the night before, which is the night better.
What was that?
It's not like we did anything different last night. I just had them stop the recording after 2 minutes and start, like, wait a few seconds and then restart it again. And we had, I don't know, 22 minutes worth of footage that we were able to capture.
Oh, cool.
Which is about average. I
We're
usually get
living in a
between 20
crazy
and 40.
time.
So, but you're recording again?
Protest.
Okay.
Could be the
Okay.
protest
Okay.
that was last year. Can you ask her? It's a weird question, but Eliza, since Charles was so much older than you, what attracted you to him? Was it because he was a gentleman?
Why
Did he
did
love
like
you?
Charles?
Huh. Oh,
So when did you find out you were going to be doing this?
Oh gosh, it's a couple weeks ago. Like when we knew we were coming to Charleston. This is like the main thing that she's been talking about.
Gotcha.
And it's not that I don't like it. It's just, like I said, it's scary because I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. I never want them to attach to me.
Sure. And that's
Yeah.
understandable.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that could ultimately be a blessing if it were to happen. This would be very kind of scary, I guess. You get what I mean? Like, it's a blessing that this is even like a phenomenon, a fact. Like it actually happens. You know?
Yeah.
Like, something beyond that we could even like kind of explain. I don't know.
So when I first started this, there were things being attached to me from people you guys were bringing with you.
Yeah.
And again, the guy with the seizures, it's not a good deal.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. My sister has epilepsy, so
I mean,
her, Purple to the day I die, brother.
Yeah. For one second, I'm just texting him. Like, they were like, oh, go without us. I'm like, yeah, we already have.
Yeah. I wonder who I would bring with me. I would hope it'd be my great grandmother. I wear her chain all the time. I kind of think of her as like a guardian angel,
Sure.
I guess. That'd be cool.
Somebody's
She's
looking
here.
over you.
Yeah, I like to think so.
So most of the circle that I keep, you have to imagine, are psychics and mediums and that kind of thing.
He told me to ask why she liked Charles and it said Christians. I don't know.
Oh wow,
Maybe it was a godly.
They were both godly.
Yeah.
that's awesome.
How old were you when you died?
Good question. I'm gonna check on Olivia's list, but
Yeah, sure.
But as far as like, there's things in my bag that kind of keep everything grounded for us. Like,
Oh, awesome.
so I don't want anything going home with me anymore. All of my circle of friends like send me, crystals and gemstones that are blessed all the time.
Yeah.
So again, they're always sending me stuff. So I just keep recycling them. I always there's like a 6-month ritual I go through with the full moon and salt water and water from the earth and that kind of thing. So I always make sure everything stays fresh for us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they keep sending them. What you got? You look excited about something. Necessarily. Still on that. The list yesterday was actually pretty light.
How old is she, Laura? Did she respond yet? Eliza?
Did you hear what it sounds like?
Sure.
I still put in like the vague reference just so in case it does attach to something else.
What happened to the mansion?
Spot check all of this media, so it's not like I'm going to go through every bit of it like you guys hopefully will.
Yeah, search here. Oh, it says virus now.
Various.
You are not recording at this
I am not recording, correct. I stopped it
Okay.
at 3 minutes, yeah.
Oh, you did. But yeah, you can start it back up again just so you have footage, and it doesn't mean you have to have the lasers on. It just means like the more footage, the better, because that's a multi-purpose camera.
What happened
I
to
just
the
like
mansion?
lasers with it, 'cause when you guys see the video and see how they light
Did
up
it burp?
in there, it's super
Okay.
So, yeah, your things, I've got your readings. Like, that thing is just going nuts, which is a good sign. Which means Lauren's probably missing something, which is perfectly fine.
What am I
His
missing?
device is going nuts. So, like, he's had 15 to 25 milligauss almost this entire time that we've been in here.
Oh,
Guys,
wow.
just be wary of the car, because that's the only way in and out.
I heard protests, Christians, Israel, crazy times. I don't know. I'm trying really hard to focus, but it's like
Yeah, there's a lot.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a lot in there. So I'm going to give you another minute, because you're the only one that's listening.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give everybody the answers. I want to see if something's going to pop up on one of these things. Just based on her results. Because I mean, you're not perfect. It's something a little okay. When I put that up on YouTube, it's obviously a lot easier to see. Your screen, your phone, your television. I watch it on a pretty large computer screen, so the desktop, put all this together, So, again, it is so much easier. Point, freeze frame, light.
You don't want to just point it at people.
Just had to have always something like a person.
So
looking at it.
that way they had a slider bar to see like something that actually flashed through on that camera. And it's really hard to watch it because it's so fast. So when I freeze framed it, I lightened it up so they could see the comparison, and there was nothing there to make it flash. So it was kind of like, okay. All right, so let me show you guys some answers. One, because there's going to be a lot of cars moving in and out of here. So, back home.
Oh my god. You better not hit us.
Funny. So here's what I'm excited about. I'm excited the fact that you're hearing something. Some people actually have a really hard time with that, and they don't hear anything all night long. And then they call me later and say, after I give them the recording, and say they were able to hear it later on. But she heard Christians after she heard, you asked the question, was it like, why did you marry Charles? Amish or Christians. So they were obviously both godly people, as you said. So again, kind of vaguely relevant. It's not as specific.
I got God.
Did you? So a lot of religious terms will come up because they were very religious, especially, Eliza herself. So that's, again, just saying something about her personality, not so much a specific, like a date or anything that we can prove, but it is definitely relevant. I have to look into that number 36, so I don't know what that's attached to. I'm not excited about anything on your list yet. I'm sorry, Olivia, but you got nothing going on there. And then
She'll make up a story for you.
I know, right? The 15 to 25 milligauss that you have going on with your device, I've come to this location on some nights and it doesn't give me anything. You can stop your video. Kind of give your hands up. The batteries, because the smell of low tide will be coming in off the water, so they have piazzas with a front door on the porch. It helps keep the smell of low tide out. You open up your second storage window, it allows the cool breeze to come in and it air conditions your house. Because technically, this is a weird space. So again, we're on in the middle of a 6 to 7 long loop. Like this is week 2 out of the 6 to 7 weeks that I normally get Benjamin and John. They both lived here in 1801. I had no other significance other than that I get the same names every 6 to 7 weeks in this alley only. So take that for what it's worth. And it's not just on one specific spirit box, it's from all different types of spirit boxes. So again, it's always the same 2 names. Every once in a while I get a third name, that's Jane. Now keep in mind, when I say people lived here, I'm only talking like 5 to 6 people at a time. So Benjamin and John, that's 2 people out of 5 that lived here in 1801. You're standing on Belgian blocks. These blocks are made straight of granite. You guys on your YouTube videos and paranormal shows have probably heard the term limestone before and how it stirs up paranormal activity. Basically anything that comes straight from the earth, like limestone and granite, can hang on to the consciousness of memories. Now you would think with these Belgian blocks we would have high EMF. I don't normally have any EMF down here. That's why I think with that 6 to 7 week loop, we're dealing with the stone tape theory. So it basically says that these kind of rocks will just record things and replay them back. So very interesting space. Before people lived here, before we move on, this is where the Freemasons had their Masonic lodge. So hence the name Lodge Alley. We do get terms wrapped around the Freemasons, like Freemason itself, Mason, Mason. And I've even had the word Illuminati show up here quite a few times. So again, I have to chuckle every time it comes up, just because who the heck is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? But when I do get it, you can't make it up. It happens, and it's only in this space. So we are going to go to another alley. However, I can't take you down it because I've been booted out. You have to remember, this tour has the gizmos and the gadgets, and we weren't always using earbuds, and it is residential at the end, and technically I'm not supposed to take you all the way through it. However, I still get enough evidence just on the outside of it where it actually makes a whole lot of sense. As we leave the alley, you're going to stop your recordings, and you've been kind of back and forth with yours, but as we exit, we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood. So again, we're still on a no laser zone, at least for a little while. I figured you would be really interested in helping Olivia with her device. Cindy Jackson's is super simple. He's got it down pat. But, I mean, definitely keep listening. As you hear things, let me know what they are. I'm still waiting for a grandparent's name to pop up for you, something along those lines, something that kind of solidify what you're hearing, so that way it doesn't look like you're reaching.
Right.
Even their birthday, something that shows, even just a month would be relevant. But again, as we leave the alley, you're going to turn off your videos again, and I'll let you know when we can turn them back on again. But, I mean, we can definitely get some footage as we're going through here, just be a little bit more discreet, as this is somebody's workplace. You can see that people on their breaks. So let's go check out this next alley and see what's going to happen up there.
I heard wild geese.
Wild what?
Wild geese.
We had geese earlier. Like, way early on. Came up on it. Cut those videos down. It's out here. So again, just be kind of discreet. There you go. Hold it nice and low. I love how I got you guys sneaking around. This is great. But anyway, so the alley behind me is called Philadelphia Alley now. It's easy for me to remember because that's where Eliza is buried. but it used to be called Duelers Alley. So we used to have duels down there. So your hand is covering the camera.
Oh, that's why, idiot. My bad.
At least he's on the left side. I'll give him that one.
Yeah.
All right, so Duelers Alley. We all talk about one duel.
Just said Philadelphia. It's crazy.
That is pretty nutty.
Wow.
Let me know if yours says alley.
Maybe
I
I'm
can
hearing
get the
things.
word.
You're gonna listen to this back and be like, she's making stuff up.
When I can usually tell by the look on people's faces. So, and again, it's that subliminal messaging piece where, for example, if I said I hear the name Benjamin and John all the time in Lodge Alley, all of a sudden somebody says, I just heard Ben, and I can't find it, even though I know the time frame. So I'll listen to that whole thing, just looking for it. But that one, that's a big one, so I'll be diving into that,
Okay.
just so you just to verify.
Hopefully I didn't lie. Yeah.
Yeah, let's put you against the wall for sure, just as people are going to start to walk by. I'm not paying somebody behind the door, I promise. But
Heart?
the duel is very specific. A doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancee, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with that money. The attorney thinks that the doctor is just after Amanda's cash, so he tells her to get rid of the doctor. The doctor, to prove that he's not after her money, moves to Charleston. As he's coming into town, a coachman, taxi, whatever you want to call him, 1700s, set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. So somebody walking by sees what's happening. His name is Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph for a second because his initials are the same as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. So RI will show up here in some way, shape, or form quite often. However, I always need that second clue so I know which guy it belongs to. So it's one of those things. But anyway, Ralph says, hey man, you don't want to stay here. This guy's trying to kill you. He's going to take all your money. So he's like, I got some friends at 59 Church Street where you can rent a room from, and you'll be good to go. So the doctor takes him up on the offer, and he's living now at 59 Church Street. 59, obviously a key word for spirit boxes. So him and Ralph become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off. He's making his own money. Things are going really well. He becomes known as the whistling doctor because he whistled all the time. He's proving his point, and his fiance is moving down to Charleston soon. He's a happy guy. Him and Ralph go see plays together, but because the doctor makes more money, he doesn't get to sit next to his friend. The doctor gets better seats. That's the hierarchy of Charleston. So one night they go see a play. They're talking about the actress on the way home. The doctor thought she was great. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, and then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance back home in Rhode Island. Yeah, pretty ugly situation. It gets pretty heated. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He goes to his friends at the newspaper and puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the ad. It's basically a jerk move, right? And he says, let's go down to Duelers Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down back to back. They take their 20 paces. They turn. The doctor points his gun in the air and shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up for the fight, which is often what happened during a duel, by the way. Ralph has this one shot. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. So the doctor didn't die either, but Ralph proved his point that he's still mad. The doctor is picked up by his friends and carried home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. Remember, he's a doctor. He probably tried to heal himself by bleeding it out. Yes, that's the stuff we're looking for, finally! So, and the fact that you heard Philadelphia. I'm not like...
I heard heart too, but I
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah.
But again, lots of love going
Yeah.
on here with Amanda and the whole situation.
Right.
So, they say as you walk through this alley, by the way, I'm so stoked for you, that's a great one. As you walk through the alley, they say you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. So I would take my groups down there, and it would just be voice recorder only. This is where you would listen to the voice recording to see if anything's going to come through. Keep in mind, anybody local knows the story. If they're walking down Cumberland, the street we're on, or Queen Street on the other side of the alley, we all throw a whistle down the alley. Just for fun, right? Funsies. I do it every single night on my way home from work. So we end up over there, my garage is right there. So I have to pass by the alley, I always throw a whistle, and I go home. So it's just kind of a new ritual that I've done since I'm not allowed down there anymore. I'm the guy who got the phone call. So, yeah, from the tourism office. It was not fun. But anyway.
Did someone go into debt over this situation?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay.
They also say you can hear gunshots down here, but I don't have any proof of that. I do have some faint whistling that I can't debunk. If you want to go down there on your own, of course, I invite you to turn on your voice recorders and listen to it later. It is the most picturesque place we have. I'm sure you can see, like, the lighting down there is perfect at night because that's just the way it's set up. It is a gorgeous area. However, somebody does live at the end. There's a nice, beautiful mansion down there. So, the reason I got kicked out of this place is because at the end, I always showed off that the bricks at the end are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint and fingerprints at the end. It's right outside somebody's dining room window. So, everybody wants to put a spirit box in there or an EMF meter. It's the same principle about what I told you about gravestones. You don't get a whole lot of activity in cemeteries. Some kid is not staring at that brick in the afternoon. We're not going to get anything. I just like to show it off because it shows Charleston's history. So, again, especially when I had a diverse crowd, I was especially showing off. So, again, I didn't go down there anymore. He got pretty angry. He was in the right, so I'll give him that. But the dates around that are very relevant. So, I got booted out of there on November 26th. My next night, I rerouted and took my group up to where we're going, not knowing the full story, not knowing a whole lot about this pirate we're going to dive into at the end, and somebody heard the number 300. Well, the number, I didn't know what it meant at the time, so I go home and I research it. We were there on November 28th, 2020. The trial of the pirates that I'm going to tell you about was on November 28th, 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary, and I had no idea. So again, now I'm like, damn it, I gotta talk about pirates. I'm a vampire guy. So I have read more books on pirates over the past year, trying to put all the pieces together for this crazy story I'm gonna tell you at the end. I was waiting, I was kind of dragging this one out to see if Olivia's device was gonna give us something else, but it didn't. So we're gonna kind of go through the myths and legends part, based on what you guys are gonna see and hear on your spirit boxes. If not, I'll go through my quick go-to stories, and then we're going to deep dive into that female pirate where you guys are going to get to investigate the space like what you did at the Pinckney Mansion site. But you can see just by talking about these stories and being near the areas, how things can just pop up out of nowhere. Medical is a great term. I am stoked for that. I am very excited about that. And I'm hoping your heart rate has gone down as well. So he's like, this really isn't that bad. It's not that scary. Jackson, how are you doing? You doing all right? I know, my stories can be long, but there's a lot of stuff going on in Charleston. I can't stop talking.
I love it.
This is awesome.
Shut your mom. Let me see if you got anything before that. Alright, you're doing a good job. But the two sides of the cemetery, if you're from Charleston, you get buried on this side. So Charles Pinckney, Eliza's husband, he's from here. He's buried over there. If you're not from here, you go across the street. Your 7th vice president for your history buffs, John Calhoun, he's buried across the street. The interesting thing about that is they moved his sarcophagus several times trying to figure out where the hell he was supposed to go. So they didn't know if he was from here or if he wasn't. So I think he moved like 3 times. But that's usually open during the daytime. You can go visit that. And again, anywhere where there's a president or vice president buried, they have to keep it open to the public. This side is always shut down because it's so old. Again, we're talking 1700s, right? So you notice the light over the cemetery. You can see that really creepy tree over there in the background. So that light is pointing directly at a sign, which is the story that every ghost story ghost tour ends with. The sign reads, "There's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost." The reason for that is because in 1888, a young lady died by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Now, we just talked about initials with Ralph in Rhode Island, right? So Sue Howard Hardy. As cheesy as that sounds, I've heard it and I've seen it. I wouldn't even bring it up if I haven't. I don't do cheesy, corny, scary stuff, but that's kind of creepy. But anyway, Sue Howard Hardy dies 6 days after her stillborn child. So, Not a very happy story. But in 1987, a local photographer is in town, and he is taking all of these photos of all of our cemeteries. He's putting a book together. He starts to develop his own photographs, and he captures a full apparition in one of the photos over Sue's grave. It's a woman wearing a shawl, leaned over like she's praying, and there is a baby basket next to her. Now, it's 1987. They don't have the same technology we have now to be able to debunk it from a computer, so he sends it to Kodak. So, I'm not going to explain what Kodak is. But Kodak can't figure out this picture either. So, I am going to show you the picture. The picture, for guys like me, is like gold, right? It's actual proof and evidence, even though it hasn't been confirmed. But, it is cursed. Yes, sir.
If it's creepy, can I turn away?
I think you'd be alright, yeah. So what I'm going to ask is that the girls of the group do not touch my tablet. If you're handling it, even in a digital format, you'll get the same symptoms I told you about back at Big John's: the headache, the nausea, the dizziness. Females that are pregnant and are handling it for themselves, they're probably not going to have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the tour. Now, somebody on their honeymoon, I'm not going to have you guys call me 9 months later and they curse their family. Like, I'm not going to be that guy. Please don't touch the tablet. It's a big deal to me, obviously. And Mom's like, yeah, I get it. I'm not touching it. I have to ask, what is the origin of your name? Like, where is it from? Like,
Poland.
Okay.
From Poland.
I was just curious. I'm Ukrainian, bless you. So I've been hearing a lot of names lately, obviously from the news, where I'm like, yeah, I knew somebody named that. I mean, I'm not straight from the Ukraine, but people at the church I grew up in, obviously were from the Ukraine. So, all right. So the photograph, I'm gonna go right down the list so everybody can see it, because it is kind of weird to see. Full picture. There's your apparition. There's her shoulders, the top of her head, and then a baby basket next to her. That is Sue's grave. So you can see, there's the full picture. There's the apparition. Shoulders, top of her head, and the baby basket. So you're looking at her back. So you can see someone from 1987 who's not
Uncle Denny's
looking
October.
close, how that would be kind of creepy. Not necessarily. It's a little vague. But that's the story that they all tell up there. That's their big finale, because they have something to show. They're not looking for things with the gizmos and gadgets that you guys have. So, have you heard anything in the past minute or two? If not, I'm gonna get us going on pirate themes, so that way your mindset's there. And you guys are gonna go through this. What is it, tomorrow night?
Investigations.
So, please let me know how accurate I am. I've done a crap ton of research. The guy they're going to see is like the expert of piracy. He walks around, he's got the long hair, pirate hair. So that's how he's looking. Hey, how are you?
Excuse us, guys.
Oh, you're good. So, when I told you when I had it, this was a few weeks ago. It's kind of crazy. Teenage girl, she's probably 13, 14 years old, not listening, not paying attention. All of a sudden, she just screams, SHH. Like, that's what she heard on the spirit box. She had no idea what I was talking about. Like, she was playing on her phone, listening to the spirit box, and she's like, what's SHH? Like, that was really loud. And it was the one that wasn't recording. So, of course, I couldn't verify it. But we all looked at her like, and I was already done with the story. Like, I was moved on. It was just the weirdest thing, just so you know. And that's actually called like the Estes method, where you can actually like not pay attention to what's going on around you. People are asking questions, and you just rattle off whatever you hear to see if there's actual answers. You know, basically somebody with giant headphones on, noise canceling. I've done that method. Now what do you got? This is a banshee. That is a very annoying beast that doesn't really exist. It's kind of like Bigfoot. So, let's get your mindset on pirates. You guys see the burning gas lamp off in the distance, the orange light flickering down there?
Yep. Yeah.
That's the pirate house. It has a big anchor on the front of it. You can't miss it when you guys are walking around town. Somebody does live there. Don't go in his backyard either looking for ghosts. He also gets mad. Don't ask me how I know. But that's where Blackbeard's men would come off their ships, have a place to stay. They meet with a few girls, have a few drinks, and have a place to sleep. The cool thing is that they dug a tunnel underneath the pirate house, going 1 block away to Dock Street Theater. So this is where things are going to start getting hairy, so I'm trying my best to keep it PG to PG-13. So at the time of Dock Street Theater, it was called Planters Hotel. It was a warehouse, playhouse, and a hotel. Obviously, pirates, you can see where the attraction would be, but the playhouse was also an attraction because pirates work really well with ropes and knots. They would actually go work behind stage, in between bartering with all the locals. We just filled in that tunnel in the 1990s. So, rumor had it that Blackbeard actually buried some of his treasure in there. I call BS because we all know that treasure is in North Carolina, not South Carolina. So, just saying, just point it out.
Outer Banks.
Yeah. Let's go to the other side of piracy, which is about the men who caught pirates. So, on the other side of the cemetery is you can touch a sarcophagus from the street, and his name was William Rhett. He caught a gentleman pirate called Stede Bonnet. So Stede Bonnet was kind of a joke. They call him
Still out there.
What's that?
It's still out there. I don't know. Maybe that's the treasure still out there.
Yeah, it is still out there. Nobody's found that treasure. And it's funny. But anyway, so Stede Bonnet was kind of a joke. A gentleman pirate means you bought your way into piracy. You weren't born a pirate. You know, he had money, he had a plantation, and he bought his own ship and learned underneath Blackbeard. And Blackbeard kept him around because he was a joke for his men. It kept them very lively on the ship because they all made fun of him. But anyway, once he had his own ship, he got caught pretty quickly by this gentleman, William Rhett. He turned him over to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice took Stede's men and hung them on White Point Garden to warn off all other pirates not to come to Charleston. So all those, we don't know what happened to those bodies, but when you go to White Point Garden, you'll see all the plaques that tell the story of gentleman pirate Stede Bonnet and Chief Justice Nicholas Trott. So you'll see all of those things that are down there. All of the plaques down there will kind of put and piece the story together for you. But the man who caught him is buried right across the street. So, looks like we're getting a little sleepy-eyed, so I'm going to get you guys back to work. The story across the street is a bit of a whopper, so you got to bear with me before I let you guys explore the space, because it is a good 5 to 7 minute story. So let's get this party started. Maybe grab your phone. Let's see this.
So keep the party going.
Yep.
And it was these all
No, that was in the they've already visited it, and that's one of the spaces I want to add to the end, where I take away Big John's and I put something at the end, only because of who I am. So the story of Unitarian Church is that the poem of Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe is true. Edgar Allan Poe was stationed on Sullivan's Island under the name Edgar Perry, and he fell in love with one of the daughters of the Ravenel. If you went to the big giant bridge from Mount Pleasant to come over here, that's the Ravenel Bridge. But anyway, he fell in love with one of the daughters, and then he got sent away based on the request of the daughter's father. Knew some people, had him contacted, and they sent Edgar away, and in the meantime, the daughter passed away. So the story goes that the father put up 2 blank headstones in Unitarian Church, so that way Edgar could never see her. Like, go back and visit. So there's your poem of Annabel Lee. So if you think about it, you go back and reread it again, it all makes sense. And I contacted Unitarian Church. They will neither confirm nor deny the story. And the Edgar Allan Poe Museum up in Virginia, like, they will neither confirm nor deny the story either. But again, Edgar was stationed here, and I said I didn't eat out. When I do go eat out, it's at Poe's on Sullivan's Island. Amazing. So not to mention the decor just keeps me in there for hours.
It's just weird because our tour this morning, they talked about exactly that Edgar Allan Poe and his mistress and being Perry, and that tour guy goes to Poe's. It's just like, got goosebumps right now.
Poe is somebody that I studied when I was working on all of my crazy degrees. But that was something that I kind of thrived on, was Poe's work. Even back in high school, that's what kind of really got me into writing, was reading a lot of Poe. Am I well versed in it now? No, I haven't picked it up in a while, just because I'm reading so many other things, obviously for the tours, pirates being a general theme. But anyway, but I do like to tell that story, and it's something I want to add, because a friend of mine, I only have one friend in this industry, he takes his groups by there, and oftentimes somebody will pass out at the gate of Unitarian Church on the tour. So
he wants to add it to his, so.
of course I do. It's just one of those pieces where I got to test people. This is also a space where people have passed out. This is the last space where I told you I'm going to tell you the story of somebody passing out because it's relevant to the story. So let's kind of get into the space of where we're at first.
Okay.
The building behind you, that's the powder magazine, the one with the crosses on it. First off, those are not crosses. Those are earthquake bolts. Earthquake bolts are basically turnbuckles. So if we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886 that I told you about earlier, which we haven't, we've had little ones, but nothing big. They say you can turn those turnbuckles slowly and it'll straighten the building back up again. It's a great theory, it just doesn't work. The reason I point these ones out is because they're the very first earthquake bolts that Charleston put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It's finished in 1713. We are here because of the time frame of the building. It's kind of like a toy that I would use to try to interact with a child ghost. So again, this is the toy because of the time era. We don't have many buildings this old. So I told you guys about the Charlestown Walls earlier back when we were at Lodge Alley. The street behind you is where the wall existed. That street obviously wasn't there. It went up past the powder magazine about a block and started going south, which is the direction behind me, towards the battery. It's locked into the corners of the walls on purpose. If it gets hit by cannon from a ship 3 blocks away at the wharfs in the water, it's going to have a hard time going through the 32-inch thick walls. Those walls are super thick. It's got gunpowder inside. If it gets hit, it blows up. So we're going to pretend that a cannonball goes all the way through and it blows up. There's sand in the roof underneath those shingles, on the red shingles, that it's supposed to go up in the air from the explosion because it's not going to go through the walls, and then it's going to fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. That's the way it's designed. Is it flash? The flash that showed up here last night on that spirit box. It's weird. But anyway, that's another, the sand thing, that doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It got hit, based on our geography, it's much skinnier down there. It got hit, sand went up in the air, building burned to the ground. It doesn't exist. This one has never been attacked, even though it served in 7 different wars, including the Civil War. That was its last servant. So, again, you know why we're here now, so let's get into the middle of the story. The building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? So, 1703 to 1713. Our story begins in 1708, right in the middle of its construction. So, follow me, there's a lot of twists. Let's go. Now, 1708, a young lady moves here by the name of Anne Cormack. She moves here with her dad and his mistress. That would be his girlfriend. The girlfriend is her mother. Are you guys with me so far?
No, can you say that?
Yes. Anne Cormack from Ireland moves here with her dad and his mistress. The mistress is her mom.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the 3 of them are running away from his wife.
Right.
You guys all got me now?
Yep.
How mad was she, by the way? Just putting it out. From Ireland all the way to the Americas. So, they land in Georgetown, just north of here. Dad buys a plantation. Mom dies pretty quickly. Now he has to send the young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation to keep everything going. So, Anne back home was kind of a hardcore badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly when she was like 7 or 8 years old. Like, super young. Again, could have been 9 years old. All of this is up for speculation because the story has got a million holes in it. But anyway, just want to give you that mentality before we move forward. We're going to fast forward past the time frame of this being finished. We're going to go to 1715. Anne at this time is like 16, 17 years old, speculated. And she falls in love pretty quickly because pirates are coming through town. This guy's name is James Bonney. And James Bonney is a filthy pirate and Dad doesn't approve. So they run away to Jamaica, they get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonney, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. Her career started right here. When you get down there, James Bonney is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking pirate that she wanted, like Captain Jack Sparrow. He's a privateer, which means he's a spy for the British. He's a coward. So, a few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2, I'm going to keep track for you. There's a lot. Guy number 2, his name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. He is the swashbuckling, rum-drinking guy that she wanted, and he has his own ship and crew. She wants to be part of it. Girls curse pirate ships. You can't put a girl on a pirate ship. It's just the way it went back then. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like the crew and hide your gender, you can be part of the crew and be a female in my quarters. So she agrees with this because Dad used to cross-dress her back home in Ireland to keep her hidden from his wife. So she's like, whatever, I'm a pirate, let's go. Adults, let's put 2 and 2 together. Female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate guy on the crew. Somebody's going to figure it out. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, comes back, there's no baby. We have no idea what happened to the kid. She's also dressed like a female. This makes Jack mad. These are whistlers. She's also dressed like a female. Jack's pretty mad about this. Now his crew's going to find out for sure. He also just captured another pirate crew, and they're down below deck. She's going to go flirt with them, because that's what Ann does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, just like it got to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females dressed like males to be part of piracy. So, her name is Mary Reed. She convinces Mary to become part of the crew, the 2 become friends, possibly lovers. Nobody knows for sure. That's the way the story goes. And the British find out where they are, meaning they send their entire fleet to come take down one pirate ship. So now we have multiple ships taking aim at Calico Jack's ship, and Anne and Mary are the only ones not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet muskets. They're obviously going to get taken down. That's a lot of ships. As they're being arrested, Anne looks over at Jack and she says, "You should have fought like a man instead of going down like a dog." Dog obviously being a key word. Now the judge, I know I told you about Nicholas Chart over there. We have another one. Nicholas Laws. He wants to see the 2 men that fought back by themselves after he tries and hangs Calico Jack and all of his crew. So the 2 ladies go in front of the judge and reveal their gender, trying to save themselves. He doesn't care. They're still pirates. You're still going to be hung. "We plead our bellies," is the last thing they said, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. By the way, this is the court date that I told you about, was November 28th, where we heard the number 300. So he delays their hanging, sends them both back to jail after their pregnancies. Dad is still here in Charleston with all of his Irish money. He bails Anne out, brings her back home. She remarries husband number 2, guy number 4, has 4 children, and dies at the age of 84. That's all we know. As far as Mary Reed goes, she died a year later in 1721 from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Probably it was scurvous and bumpy and gross and whatever else your imagination wants to come up with. There's 2 things I left out of that story on purpose, things I can prove. You guys all know how to use your devices and spirit boxes. Hopefully you have something coming up that's going to be all piracy kind of stuff. But the name of Calico Jack's ship, I know for certain, and the name of Anne Bonny's parents. That's the dad and the mistress. So again, those names I know for certain. Anything else you want to ask is, like I said, it's up for speculation. Have fun with this one.
Said Calico Jack's ship
Mm-hmm.
and Anne Bonny's parents.
Correct.
Okay.
So I
Those are
told
your questions.
So those are 2 easy ones. You can ask whatever else you want to. I do want to tell you about when somebody passed out. You seemed interested at the beginning, like, well, I want to hear this one. So back in September, I brought my crew back here, just like we're standing, probably a little bit larger group. The kid next to me goes white as a ghost, pun intended, and I start to pick him up by his armpit. He's starting to pass out. So I take him over to that wall. I send his boyfriend across the street to the vending machine to get him a bottle of water. He starts to feel better. I then tell the story after he's starting to feel better. Afterwards, I send everybody out to go play with their devices. They pull me aside. "Nick, we are 2 transgender males," meaning I had 2 females dressed as men on my tour. And it made complete sense to them at that point why one of them passed out when they entered the space. We got quite a few terms that night. This is an odd space. Either Anne is here or she's not. So it's definitely a hit or miss. Jackson, your device, if you see anything, I want to know what's going on. This is not like the Pinckney Mansion site for certain. Cameras, if you want to go to the front of the powder magazine, you can. The only thing I ask is you don't interrupt the other tours. Again, they already don't like me because I take too much business. So, wait your turn. You can put your cameras right inside, like in between the wrought iron gates. Just don't drop the equipment. Mom, you can actually put lasers up there if you want to. Me and the kids can stay back here. But we are going to end on that wall over there. I will ask that the lasers stay on the front lawn because those are apartments. If you go up, you're going to be in somebody's living room. Just so you know. Again, lots of rules with the lasers. You can see why the kids don't get them. But again, if you lock, I mean, you can start recording now. I want to make sure it's not going to lock up after 15 seconds. You've been recording this whole time, correct?
Yes.
I've been recording this whole time and it did lock up.
Oh, actually, your light wasn't flashing. We lost 8 minutes. Damn it. It's okay. Why don't you stop yours?
Yeah.
Just so we don't. We got. This is really light today. I am super stoked about medical though. Like it can't get any better than that unless it said doctor.
Sure, come over.
Yeah, so the easiest way to go check out the front is to, I mean, you can go through the bush over here if you want, but to walk around, you'd have to exit where the cars exit. But I like to end over here just because there's a ledge where I can sit my bag down and all that.
What is this used for currently?
It's a museum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can go in and like check out the artillery from those wars, the uniforms.
Yeah.
Usually, like in our extreme temperature seasons, like either super cold or super hot,
Yeah.
I usually recommend it's a great spot to go in and check out to get out of one of those extremities.
Yeah.
Because it's like $5 to get in,
Oh, it's nothing.
and it's like a 30-minute tour, and
Yeah.
it's so cool in there.
I'm sure it's fantastic.
I had a
I'm
season
curious.
pass in there.
I'm curious to see to know what books you've been reading for pirates.
Okay.
Super interested in that.
Most of them are dedicated to Anne Bonny herself.
Okay.
There's a lot of like, local people that write about piracy. So I'm obviously like perusing through those books. Christopher Bird, like he wrote a couple piracy books. And then I just finished the General History of Pirates by Daniel Defoe or Captain Charles Johnson, however you want to look at it. But that's
Yeah.
where the original pirate romanticism came from, was
Yeah.
from that book.
Okay.
So I just finished that. Super interesting read. Anne Bonny is one of the pirates mentioned in there. She does have her own chapter.
That's awesome.
But obviously Blackbeard is in there. All your big ones. Steve Bonnet was in there.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of great stuff in there. Another thing you can do to research pirates: play Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Oh, I have beat it already. It's fantastic.
So
One of my
I'm
favorite
playing it
games
on my
ever.
Switch, which is probably a bad move.
Is it harder on the Switch? Yeah, it's got to be harder on the
Yeah,
Switch. Are
it's
you
another-
using the game controller though? Did you buy like the?
No, I have a
Xbox
Switch
controller?
Lite.
Okay. Okay.
I heard Mary and Joseph,
Mary is the name of the mother.
the mother. Okay.
Not to mention her friend/lover. So that's why I like to give that
Mary,
question, is because you guys aren't expecting another Mary, because I didn't say, but yes, the name of
Okay, and I heard King. I don't know if that means anything.
King.
King.
Oh,
Why are you smiling?
it's the name of the ship, the Kingston.
I have
That's awesome.
See, you have east. Now you have severely.
Keep listening.
Wow.
We'll go
It
back
doesn't
this
get
way.
any clearer.
That's so cool.
He said we can go over there, right?
Yeah, he said we can go right through this bush here, and then like
Yeah,
like
see,
right
I
in the
was gonna
front.
go there. Yeah, no.
Oh. She just heard Mary, which is one of the names,
Really?
and then she heard King, and the name of the boat was the Kingston. I know,
Crazy.
it's so crazy. Oh, that's the light. Makes sense. It's blue. I don't know.
We have no clue.
I have no clue. I like it. I keep like trying to look, and I'm like, oh, did I see something? I'm like, probably not.
I'll be recording and I forget I'm recording, and then like he's telling a story, so I forget,
Yeah.
and then I find
Oh,
out.
thank you so much. Yeah, you forget to like pause it because you're like interested, like listen, like intent. Oh, that's gotta be a light, right? What? Um. You're supposed to see ring circles?
this thing went up to 4.
What?
That's good. Where were you?
Like over where Dad.
What? I got a question for you.
We were like,
Is that maybe that's the lights? What is that circle?
Looks like he's got some.
Well, it might be the light. I'm not sure, but you see those little circles right there? Or is that...
The way to test it is to walk towards it.
Okay.
Nice and slow.
Okay.
What is your father's name?
That's crazy.
I don't want to leave a little sitting here by yourself.
Yeah, that's on me. I'm sorry. I just didn't know if that meant something.
You know what?
What the... Turns blue. No, that is not the light. And... and then it goes away. Oh, man. That makes sense. No,
Figure out.
it disappeared when I got closer.
Okay. At least, it's recording, so.
Yeah, it was just like two little circles.
Uh-huh.
There, you'll see it, yeah.
But that's definitely relevant. She's good.
She loves this stuff. This is like her wheelhouse. She loves it.
So, just so you know.
That's not the light. That is not the light. What the fuck is... Yeah? I'm seeing it again. It looks like... What the fuck is it? Sorry. I saw something again. My bad. It looked like a railroad or like a train, kind of. I don't know. Weird.
I haven't caught anything with it, but it is an interesting method. I actually thought about attaching one of those to that camera, so that way you could just toggle it on and walk around with it. Of course, you can't do that with the tour. It's too much off one person.
Her doctor again.
Dude, she's killing me. She's got all kinds of stuff. So, looks like most of the activity. I'm super stoked about your reading, by the way. We don't normally